Episode 1. This is shit we don't like.
Don't we have to go and say what this is first?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
This is our podcast.
This is our podcast. It's We're from Indiana. The podcast not about Indiana.
Yep, we're strictly just from Indiana.
You're from Indiana. You're at I'm from Indiana. And I'm at Who's Your Queen KP.
Yep. That's us. We've been together for almost 3 years now.
Trace.
We've been talking about doing a podcast for...
almost 3 years now.
Yep. I've been the one that kept us from doing it again and again.
Delayed.
I just didn't like the idea of doing it in a way I didn't like.
Well, hopefully this is the way that he likes.
Yep. So, I guess now we can just move on to our subjects, our topics.
First topic, shit we don't like.
Yeah, we're going to have 3 topics each show. So, shit we don't like is how we're rolling it in.
Do you want to share the other 2?
Yep.
Second topic will be shit that we're creating. And the third topic will be shit that we do like.
Yep, things that we do like, because I feel like I can complain every week about something new.
And it's healthy to start with a negative and end on a positive.
Because I can't stand most things.
Well, what's something you can't stand this week?
I already got it on my list. You want to go to it?
Yep. Ready, set,
All
complain.
Right. So, we were able to talk about this week's episode can be about the struggling artist narrative.
Yeah, I don't like the struggling artist narrative. I have committed my life to combating the struggling artist narrative because it's important for sustainability. We should live sustainable lives. We should be thriving artists rather than struggling.
Yeah.
That's just as important and sacred as keeping and making your art sacred.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's just like, if we could just be struggling artists and that was enough, I'd be down. But yesterday, I shared that podcast with you that I was listening to, and the guy said something on it that, like, I really feel like my early 20s experience. But he was just like, he was talking about getting into relationships, but he was talking about, like, being funny, and it's funny being enough. But he was like, the problem is people can think you're funny, but they can't respect it if you don't make a living, whatever. And, like, the thing for me, when I was in my 20s, I didn't know how to make a living as an artist. So I was like, I'll just go to an art program. And the thing is, when you're a student, you have so much protection. Like, you have the freedom to just be like, I am somebody who's learning and I'm not supposed to have everything together. But when you're like 25 and you are still making art and you're like, commit to just this journey of like, I'm going to do everything in my life to have this be the only thing I have to do. It's like, until you make a living, people do not respect it.
Well, it's never made sense to me. Like, even when I was a struggling artist, that narrative didn't sit right with me. Because, like, okay, you're a kid, right? And they tell you can be whatever you dream to be if you have a great support system. So I'm raised in this culture where I'm told I can be whatever I dream of being. Okay, so that was a rock star, right? So it never made sense to me that then as I got older, it became, well, you have to get a real job because being an artist, artists don't make money.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make sense because every artist I ever saw made money. I saw artists on the TV all the time. I listened to artists all the time. They were making a living. Like, they were making wages.
Every art museum, every piece of art that they have in the art museum, they assign a value to. They don't have any pieces in the art museum that they go, hey, y'all, this painting right here has a $5 value. But we
wouldn't be in
keep
the
it.
museum
We
if it
keep it
had
here
$5
because it's
value.
beautiful. I think that okay, so one of the most heinous things I think about art, okay? All right, like, why is it that rich people don't have this starving artist, like, theory? And, like, all I mean by that is, like, all right, like, let's unpack what a starving artist is. Like, this whole, like, I made no money in my lifetime and then everyone found my value. Well, if you've got someone from a wealthy family and they make art their whole life, right? And then it just sits in their family estate. What happens when that rich collector or that collector that goes, oh my God, I just discovered it? They're not going to go to the estate and go, hey, can I just have all this shit because they didn't make $1 in their lifetime and then flip it into something else? The only people I see that they love to spin that narrative to is like, let's be honest. It's like you got black and brown people who it's like, hey, you deserve to make art, but you don't deserve to profit on it. But if we do find this like monetarily valuable, we can never let you be the one who inherits any of it. Like,
well, and like that speaks to that it is a privilege to be a struggling artist. And then that's this like weird dichotomy that literally makes no sense.
well, it's like I remember watching a documentary and the person was like, yeah, I discovered this artist, this nanny, ended up being a photographer and had like hundreds of thousands of black and white photos. And they were like, yeah, they never made a living. They just collected them all. And then I discovered them. And then the artist has all of those things now have a huge price tag. And those huge price tags go to the museum. The museums, they're not just pretending that their collections have no value. They're assigning value. They're getting them insured. They're making a whole system off of these things. It's like we're going to go and say like, hey, artists, y'all shouldn't make money. But when you make something, when we figure out that it was valuable, you're dead or whatever, we're going to take all that money.
Well, that's where it becomes like this like glorified concept because, okay, so like let's say you are a struggling artist and a lot of times then you're no longer a struggling artist, but it's only in death that you're no longer this like struggling
like
artist, which doesn't make, none of it makes sense. I don't like it because why are we taking away value like in more ways than one? Because who decides this like as a creative, as an artist, you don't deserve to live a sustainable life.
The people who profit off of artists not believing that we have any value always spin this narrative. Like
Which
every
they're
single
typically
time.
not the artists.
Right. It's like, let's look at record labels. Who in the record label is the most talented?
The artist.
Okay, who makes the most money?
The label.
How much money does the top of the label person have from the arts, even though they themselves are not a creative person?
A whole lot.
That's why I love Jay-Z.
We know this.
Jay-Z went and was like, I'm going to back my own thing. And he does. And he did.
Well, it's because ownership is important. Like you get independence from ownership. You get freedom from ownership. Is if you are able to be and stay independent. This is why I like Chance the Rapper.
Yeah.
You get to honor, one, your creativity, but you also get to honor like your livelihood. Like you get to live this life that's centered around your art, which is the way that I think it's supposed to be. That there shouldn't be this struggle concept that's tied to artistry. But I do think that the world is shifting because more people are seeing that creativity is valuable. And that's not just like, that's not in just, okay, I painted this picture, this is valuable. That's not just, I made this song, is valuable. It's like people are consuming creativity and art in every day.
All the time. People love good food. People love, like, the only time I could see someone trying to be like, nah, I'm actually on the other end. All right, let's take like, and I could be so wrong, but like, let's take minimalism. Minimalism is an aesthetic. Like, I have watched wormholes of minimalism, and it's like those white walls become hypnotizing. The emptiness becomes hypnotizing. The lack of objects, and then you focus on one or two does become hypnotizing. It's an aesthetic in itself. Like, I really, really think. And then when it comes to ownership, like, I think when people think of ownership, they think about like rich people, expensive things. I'm for having ownership in the hood. I'm for having ownership, and it's like, yeah, I got a house in Jacksonville, Mississippi, and like, yo, this thing was Jackson, Mississippi. This thing was like $8,000 house, and I put $800 down, and they gave me a mortgage for 30 years, and I have 30 years to pay this $8,000 thing. I'm for people taking their tax return and investing it into like some type of ownership. I'm for people owning their microphones. I'm for people owning their computer. I'm for people owning whatever.
Well, ownership also leads to sustainability, because when you have that ownership, you're not having to outsource constantly. You're not having to look for resources and allocate all of these funds towards these things that are very temporal. Rather than, okay, I have this thing, I own it, it is now mine, and I get to use it as I see fit, rather than having any rules or constraints around how long you can have it, how you're allowed to operate it, how long you can be there. You know, there's all these things. It's like, there's a reason that there's like rents and leases. Those are within a short, within a time constraint, you know? So it's like, if there's ownership, you don't have to work within some like fixed time or fixed moment.
I'm for ownership. Just like we all know that we have to take back our bodies. We have to own our own identity. We cannot let people have the keys to our identity. And then it comes to like, I'm an artist, and it's like, I believe that everybody's supposed to own every part of me but me. And it's like, I think that it's one of the slowest things you can do. I think that it's like one of the most ridiculous things that you can do. But it's like, okay, like us getting together and being like, hey, let's start making our own content. We own the microphones. We have the camera. Mm-hmm. We paid for all of it.
Well, you're able to invest in yourself rather than investing in somebody else's business, because you are your business as the artist. So us having ownership in these microphones, camera, computer, all of that stuff, we know we didn't have to go and rent.
No, we didn't
have to invest in someone else.
When you don't have money, they make everything more expensive. Like that cello that I'm renting.
Which I still don't understand why you're renting that. Why
First
wouldn't
off,
you just...
It's terrible. Well, it's because they got me because it was cheap. They go and say to me...
But is it?
No. In the long run, I spend way more money that I'm renting it because I'm renting to own it. But I took a plan where for $90 every 3 months, I can rent to own it. So $30 a month, I get to have access to a cello. Well, I've been renting it now for 4 years.
Don't use.
Right. I've been renting it for 4 years. And then my plan, $50 every time of that 90 goes to a maintenance fee that I've never used, right? So $40 every 3 months goes to paying it down, right? So 4 years, it ends up being where it's like, I have, like, let's just say 200, even though it's not 200. So it's like, I think it's like ends up being like 160 a year. And
I think at some point we should talk about poor investments, but that'll be for another episode.
Get this. It's been like, they put a price on it of $1,200, right? It's not worth $1,200, but they're doing that because they know that you're not going to go to the pawn shop and get one for $600. I saw one at the pawn shop for $600. It looked way better than mine, and I was just like, see, I didn't have access to buying whatever, so I got into like rent to own, and rent to own always messes you over. Like everything for the poor messes them over. And if you're going to be an artist, so many people think you're just signing up to be poor. But the thing is, we can use our phones that we own to make our content. Mm-hmm. We can use our affordable paper. We can get creative and use the cheapest things that we could make origami out of newspaper.
You got to be resourceful. Anything. Like if you're an artist, you're already creative. So I've always said use your resources, whatever those might be. Like they probably aren't the top tier of what you want to be doing. That doesn't mean that can't get you to where you want to be. Because it's like you have to take these baby steps, sometimes side steps, sometimes whatever. But the closer you are to ownership and like actually finally being in ownership, there's so much more value there. And I think there's even more value there, like so if you were to be then approached by an outside source, an outside supporter, you have more value when you have more ownership.
Well, when I went to college, I was encouraged to take out student loans. And so it's
a lie.
It's all a lie. Every time it was a new semester, they'd give me a check. I would get a check for like $2,500, and it can go towards books, it can go to housing, it can whatever. I knew that I was going to get in tattooing. I knew it, and I was like, I need to spend this money toward like a workbench type thing, like a tool cabinet. Mm-hmm. I needed inks. I needed a machine. I needed aesthetics. I spent my student loan money on owning my own tattoo equipment because I knew that if I were to be offered a job full-time at a shop, they were not going to go and say, oh, you're good, but you don't have enough to fill this booth. Well, why don't we just charge it to the shop? Like, that was never going to happen.
Yeah. But even if it had, then you would be owing. You'd be that whole like rent to own thing again. It's all this again.
Like, it's like, I heard, I'm forgetting the guy's name, but he's a music guy, and he was like breaking down artist contracts, and I feel like his name's like Stout, like something Stout, but it's like Steve Stout or something. I'm forgetting, but I'm not going to look it up. But he was saying, he was like, I believe in artists staying independent because you invest your own money, but when you get the deals, when you get everything, the money goes to you. And he was talking about a younger artist that he was dealing with, and the label was offering him $8 million to sign. They were like, we're going to give you an advance of $8 million if you do this. And the family ends up taking it because they were like, that money's going to change our lives.
Now, what was the catch?
Whatever. Here's the catch. So when you do that, he said that you're selling your name. They don't just give you $8 million. So you sold your name and your likeness for $8 million. And once you're into your project,
it's your intellectual property.
Correct.
That's
now the
priceless.
label owns your name and your face, right? They gave you $8 million, and you owe that $8 million. They take it out of your profits, of your whatever, and
that's what I think. Like, there's not a language like people don't understand. Okay, that's an advance.
It's an advance.
That doesn't mean it's just like free money.
So when they decide they don't want you anymore, you can't even use your image for your art anymore. They paid you $8 million. You could have $8 million and say, take it back, and they'll say no.
No, see, my intellectual property is priceless. Like, there is not a money amount that you could come to me with that I would sell myself. I can't do that.
And you have to choose ownership when you do that. You choose, like, when you choose ownership, you choose to make less money. Like, it ends up
in the short term, but in the long term, you make more because it's like you're choosing ownership. You're also choosing to invest in yourself. You're also choosing freedom, which is like the biggest benefit to me to being a striving artist. Like, even when I was in the thick of like not having anything, I refused to own or like even say that I was a struggling artist. Like, I'm not going to put those words upon myself. I'm not going to speak that over my life. No, like, it's going to be thriving. But it's like, I don't know where it comes from. And maybe it does come from, okay, so when, you hear the narrative like, oh, artists don't make money, this, that, and the other. That is true if they are tied to a label or if they are tied to a bigger
because
entity.
Everybody else takes the money.
Correct. So it's like, that's not untrue. So what I was told growing up, like, was not a lie, because yeah, here I am seeing these like artists. I'm thinking like, well, they're living their dream. They're doing what they want. Of course they're making money. That could have actually been false, and probably was, especially like growing up in the 90s. All those people just got deals that were very short term and short lived. And most of the time, the money was gone before their project was even released. So it's like they don't get to even enjoy what they're doing at a point, because someone else is profiting off of them, rather than them enjoying creating and also enjoying the fruits of their labor.
So turns out the guy's name is Steve Stout, and it's Pharrell Williams. I'm gonna make
a fireside chat
time stamp so I can get close to plugging this in at the right time. But
I feel like I overheard you listening to this.
Yeah, I like listened to it when we were driving. I listened to it when I was in the bathroom. I've listened to it a couple times already. But it's called Pharrell Williams and Steve Stout on Thriving in the Music Business and Black Ambition. Another word I like, Black Ambition. Like, you can't pair Black Ambition with struggling, etc. Like, we gotta unlearn certain narratives like that. But one of the things Pharrell said, who's very successful in music, he goes and says, he's like, it's the music business, and the business part is an important part of making music. Because he goes and says, he's like, and what ends up happening is, he's like, you can have someone who has a lot of money and they know business, but they don't know music. And he's like, and those people are going to lose their money because somebody is going to take it from them, because they don't have the music part of the music business down.
Right. Well, I think that can be said like of any art form, though. Like, we've talked about this, like, a lot of artists just don't know business. They don't know how to monetize their art. They don't know.
It's cool. It's cool to not know how business works,
right,
as an artist.
But is it cool to not have livable wages? Is it cool to not be able to afford where you live? Is it cool to not be able to go and do and eat? Like, is that cool? No.
What's one of the, like, let's talk about like practical ways people could understand this. If somebody has a kid and one of the parents ends up getting sole custody, that other parent is like, yo, I wish that I could have availability to my whatever. Like, that parent feels like they've lost ownership, access, all that, whatever. And we're like, we can understand that, like, if you're a parent and you want to see your kid, it could be frustrating if you don't get, like, access to your kid, whatever. Like, you're wanting to, but this can't happen. Like, yes, this was something you brought in the world, but that control, whatever, like, we all understand that would not be ideal. No one's like, I want to be a parent, I want to take care of my kid, but I don't want to have any control over my kid. I don't want to be able to influence da. Well, when it comes to like artists and being like, hey, I'm doing art, but I don't want to do business, like what Pharrell ended up saying, he was like, if you're an artist and you're like good at music, but you know nothing about business, somebody's going to take all your money.
Right.
Like, let's take the blues. The Rolling Stone flew to Chicago and met Howlin' Wolf. They ended up doing stuff with Muddy Waters. They said, you're the reason we're making music. What y'all are doing is it. This is the height. We need this. But because they were black musicians, you weren't going to get access to ownership. Like, they were all signed to Chess Recording, like the label they were on, and the owner, who was not creative, ends up getting all that money. Like, the non-creative gets the money. The Rolling Stones make the money. Chess Recording makes the money. Howlin' Wolf and everybody else gets to just tour forever until they can't tour anymore. And everybody that end up being influenced by him, but it's like, at that time when you were black, you didn't get to have the ownership.
Well, I think that's why it's important that we are changing that narrative. We're also like, they didn't get the opportunity to create generational wealth, and so when you have ownership, you have, like, that opens the door to generational wealth. And had they had that opportunity, we'd all be sitting a lot different right now.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality. So I believe it is on us as like the current generation of creatives to pick that up and figure it out. Like, learn the business, learn how to monetize, learn how to have ownership, learn all of that, because there's too many benefits to just like leaving that sit somewhere idly. Like, that's just bad stewardship. Like, that doesn't work to me. Like, it's our responsibility to make sure that there is a way for others in the future to have ownership in their craft, in their spaces, with their time. It's freedom.
I think though, because I think someone's like probably could listen to this and be like, y'all don't understand. I don't want to get involved anything when it comes to money, yada yada, when it comes to like my creativity.
Then quit buying anything.
Yeah, this is how I feel.
Like, quit buying anything. If you have a problem with making money, then quit spending it, because that's the cyclical nature of everything. Like, there's that just contradicts itself.
Yeah, because like we were talking about earlier, it's like, all right, so you're someone who's like, I don't want to. It's like, do you have Netflix?
Right. Do you have Hulu? Do you shop?
Do you have a TV?
Buy shoes?
Do you have a phone?
Yep.
Do you have any social media?
Do you drink your favorite soda?
You even read books? Do all your books not have covers? Because fuck covers and fuck the creatives who make it. Like, every single thing that people love and ignore was made by someone creative, and then for some reason we go, hey y'all, everything that I love in this world was created by someone creative, but you know how it is, they end up getting fucked over. It's like, I don't want somebody to tell me that I have no value and I should just be thankful for their opportunity when they're taking everything that I deserve, like everything that I made, and being like, yeah, you should just be like happy with it. It's like, fuck that. I will have ownership in the hood. I will have ownership with the least amount. I'm not going to go and take somebody else's money just so that I can go and be like, damn, they changed their mind about me, and now I'm just like, I'm just broke. I'm just helpless.
There's power and truth in artists are the gatekeepers of truth. Their civilization's radical voice. Paul Robeson said that years ago. So there is so much power in that still today, because everything is controlled by creative, like creatives, creative movement, everything. Like the ads that you see on TV, the ads that you see on your social media that everybody claims that they don't use or they don't like. Okay, if you're not looking there, you're probably seeing a TV at some point. You're hearing something on the radio or your streaming device. Like, all of these things are attached to creativity because they're what keeps everything in forward motion. It's the media. Like, I think people lose sight of the fact that even not liking all media sources, like the news, also has creativity tied into it.
Everything has creativity. Your hair, you chose to be creative about that. If you didn't, then shave it all. Walk around butt naked. Get rid of the eyebrows too. Fuck them. They do too much. We don't need them. Your sunglasses that you think are cool, they was creative. Your toenails, you keep them trimmed. That's not natural. Let them things curl. Ugh. That's someone created the little cutters.
I know. Everything is created to make life easier or to make life more aesthetically pleasing. So,
but for some reason, we go and say, all right, I get it. Okay, there will be creative people, but they're going to be cursed. They're going to never have anything good happen to them ever. We need them to wither away in some job they hate and then barely have enough time to do their passion. That's what happened to me as soon as I was done with college. Actually, it wasn't even college. It was high school. I got done with high school. I was a very creative high school student, and I got a GED. So they were not putting me in any college programs. I remember I thought that everybody I knew in college was some privileged kid, because how the fuck do you go to a fucking college? And the thing is, I had no time to create anything because I was working at an ice cream shop and I had to work 55 hours a week. And my boss said, I can give you 30 hours a week or maybe 25. I don't know. And you're going to make $7.25 an hour. Or you can work 55 hours a week and you're still going to make $25, $7.50 an hour, $7.25 an hour. But I'm not paying you overtime. Pick. And I was like, shit, I can't find another job that's going to work with the schedule she picks. So I ended up taking 55 hours a week, $7.25, 15 that's supposed to be overtime, but I had to go no to it just so I could get paid. And then I had no time. I was exhausted. Mm-hmm. The only thing I could do was I would go to Blockbusters because that was around then, and I would get unlimited movies. It was like $30 a month, and you could get unlimited movies because Netflix wasn't popping like that. And I was miserable. And when I went off to college, and all of a sudden I got this benefit of time, I was like, by the time I leave college, I have to be doing something creative. And I cannot get stuck in this, like, I'm going to get the 40-hour job and then I'm going to make creative things on the side. Or I'll retire one day and I'll do it.
And, you know, it's like, it's not to be said that that's not sometimes necessary. Because, like, we both worked jobs we hated before we could have the freedom of creating our own time, our schedule, our everything. So it's like, yeah, sure, you do that time, but you set goals for yourself of like, okay, how am I investing that money that I am getting paid? How am I flipping it? Like, because if you aren't flipping it, you're just gonna stay in the wheel, like, you know, like the hamster wheel of like you're staying in this.
I was making money as an artist and I was homeless.
Yeah.
Like, I had 2.5 months where I was making a living barely, but I was homeless. I didn't have a home to sleep in, and I didn't have a car.
You weren't making enough to eat. You weren't making enough to like pay rent.
I was making enough to go to the grocery store when they had $8 for 8 cans of chunky soup, and I'd eat them things by themselves. Ownership. It's not like this ownership we're talking about is glamorous. You totally can still be broke and pursue the ownership. Like, I promise you.
Yeah.
Anybody who tries to do it, you'll be broke as hell.
I did live out the back of my Jeep for like 2.5 weeks. We didn't
even do cool shit. We got to pursue ownership and be the starving artist.
Yeah.
We just didn't say, I'm only ever going to be the starving artist.
Yeah.
I'm constantly afraid that I will have to return back to them damn streets. And anybody who's ever lived on the street knows that the street makes you fucking crazy. That shit talks to you. Imagine not going home tonight, parking your car, and just sitting on the street. Day in, day out. It starts talking to you. Like, the electricity starts fucking with you. Everything starts getting in your head, and you better not tell anybody all the strange things you're feeling. Like, and I had ownership.
And I'd say the reason that's shit that we don't like is because it doesn't serve anybody.
You ain't sending me back to that and being like, hey, Taryn, but when you were homeless and like something like a sardine can was something like, damn.
Sardines are expensive.
You gotta own forks for that. I ain't go. You gotta have I don't got no silverware. I can't get no sardines. Like shit, like a bowl of cereal. How you gonna drink it? How you gonna eat it? You can't. We had ownership. We were pursuing it. It's harder to pursue ownership with nothing. You'll get your wish of being the starving artist. But the thing is, if you choose to be the starving artist and you start working with people and you start whatever, tell someone in business that you're just like, look, I don't believe in doing business, They will be so happy. They will be so happy for you because they will be like, you just need to make it. What's the worst freelance work is the people that want a lot and they don't want to pay you. They look at you and they go, look, you have the equipment
this much for this
Yeah, I
little.
don't. Shouldn't you get a lot of good feelings from making it for me? You should do this for free for me because you're a real artist. And you're like, you've asked me to paint a portrait of your newborn baby. I spent 5 hours on it and I submitted it to you and you said, this doesn't look like my baby. And then I go and spend 10 hours redoing it. And then you go and say, I still don't like it. You're supposed to be an artist. I thought you were supposed to be good at this. Then they send you new photos. By the end, you spend 60 hours, right, of your time. And guess what? At the end of it, they just go, I didn't even like it.
No, it's not just time. It's also energy. Like, I just think at the end of the day, the struggling artist narrative serves no one. It doesn't serve the person that is claiming it. It doesn't serve the people that they're surrounded by. It doesn't serve anyone that they are inspiring, because as an artist, you don't ever know who's watching, especially on social media. Like, the struggling artist narrative does not serve anyone. It's the same. Like, I want to eliminate it. I also want to eliminate the scarcity mindset, because lack is an illusion. So, no. Yeah, we do not subscribe to the struggling artist narrative in this house.
Let's look at what people understand about creativity. So when we're in kindergarten, what's the first class they give us? They give us arts and crafts. They're like, hey, y'all, this is glue. A dot does a lot.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. And if you was the creative kid, you like, hell no, I'm eating it. I'm tasting it. I'm doing everything I can. I would cover my fingers in it and just let it dry.
Oh, yeah, I like to peel it off.
And I'd peel it all off.
Yeah.
Okay, I was doing all of it, okay? That was my shit. The little arts and crafts. Totally free, right? We all got to make our things and put them on the board, and our mom and dad, whatever, foster care. So I don't know everything, but they was putting that shit up on refrigerators, everything. And we're like, hey, look at that. And then you go to elementary school, we got art programs. Or if you don't have an art program there, that's where it ends for you. Okay. World ain't fair.
Unfortunately, music and art programs are leaving schools at a high rate.
And then we got people who they're in high school. They living off their mama and daddy. They living off somebody. I still ain't met a 16-year-old that for real is just like, nigga, I hustled it all for myself. I ain't seen them.
Why do they talk like that?
Because I feel like if you 16 and you just hustling on your own, you got grovel. You've been smoking Newports since at least 8. You gotta be like,
I will say that's not the Midwest reality.
I've been hustling.
It's not the Midwest reality, but there are plenty of people that is their reality.
Okay, that's true. There are people, but the thing is, then you graduate high school, and then all of a sudden you in this world where you make things, and people look at you and they like, okay, but like, is it sustainable? And it's like, we've got all these opportunities to do things that other generations never had. Social media, as evil as it is free. It's free. And you can choose to use it. Like, I was talking to this comedian. I was like, you getting on TikTok yet? And he's like, I'm like a real comedian. I'm not doing that. I was like, you doing a podcast? He's like, I'm a real comedian. I'm not doing a podcast neither. But he's proud that he's at the club, the #1 club in town. So it's like, and the #1 club in town, they got an audience. Mm-hmm. They get people there. They got a website.
Yeah, you have to be intentional about like.
They do all the things he above.
Yeah, but like your audience could stretch so much farther if you did invest in that time and energy of promoting yourself, or even just as simple as like using social media. Like,
but it's free.
You have to be creative. It is free.
We got to use free things. Like, we have to be okay as creatives to be like, damn, that shit kind of sucks, but it's free. and
it's a
I
resource
can use it.
that has to be utilized.
Because guess what? You know what you can do when you are working one of these free things, like you're doing the like, hey, this is my social media, and somebody you don't like starts following you and commenting. You know what you can do to them? Block. Blocking's free.
And these days, when you block them, it blocks any account that they also create. It's a beautiful
Block
thing.
it. Block that.
Blocked.
You can get rid of them all.
So I am blocking the struggling artist narrative.
We blocking it.
Blocked.
Block.
So that's the shit we don't like right now.
That's the shit we don't like. I'm gonna take a bathroom break, but you keep talking. Tell me about what you working on right now.
Okay. So this next section is the shit that we're creating, the shit that we're working on. I am currently working on my first, well, it's not my first. Well, I'm working on my book. I have written a book of poetry previously and I released it as an ebook, but that doesn't count for me because the book that I'm working on is entitled Free. And it's a book of my free writes from January to December of this year, 2021. So I'm going to pick the best of all those free writes and compile them into a book called Free. And well, there'll be some prompts and such so that others can also be encouraged to free write. So we're going to be doing that. Well, I'm going to be doing that. But I was inspired to do it because I've spent so much time compiling and publishing other people's work that I've really not taken the time to compile and publish my own. I've done a lot of zines and a lot of blogs and, you know, all of these really beautiful pieces of art and literature that I'm really proud of, but I realize don't allow me to fully express my own words and creativity. So the book is free. It's going to take a lot of time and energy, but I'm excited about it. And yeah, we're going to get creative with how to make the most of it so that it's accessible, so that it is able to be monetized, so that it can lead to even greater publications in the future, because I really do want people to read more, but I also really just want people to heal. And that's what free writing does for me. So yeah, that's what my book's going to be.
I like that.
Yeah. And it will release June 14th of 2022. That's the pub date.
It's the pub date.
Yeah.
So where's it going to be at?
I haven't decided where it's going to be at. It's going to be everywhere though. I'm going to do a short little tour of sorts at local bookstores. So
You going to go to Rofiwa?
Yeah. Of course we're going to hit up Rofiwa. We went there today actually. It was great. Definitely 10 out of 10.
Their business look better than my businesses.
10 out of 10 recommend.
I was like, damn.
It's a black-owned business that sells black literature, and they serve great coffee by black-owned roasteries.
Yeah, but when I walked in there, I was like, ooh, this is the corner spot. Ooh, this is big windows. Saw them books. I was like, I just tattooed them. And they like already miles beyond me. Like, I was like, this is some beautiful shit.
It really is beautiful. It's also beautiful. I don't know if you noticed, but like on their windows, it reminded me of a lot of the Support Black art that we have in Bloomington, because on their windows, it just says like black books, black coffee.
Yeah.
In really big, beautiful, bold letters.
I love black business owners. That's what I like.
Black ambition.
I like it because we used to not be able to own shit.
Mm-hmm.
We used to not have a choice in it. You can't tell me my ancestors would want me to not have. Like, we live on a farm in North Carolina, and I oftentimes think, like, because there's a cornfield outside of where we live, and it's like, I think to myself, I'm like, this land would have had to be harvested by black people. black people would look at the house probably, yada yada, and it's like, yo, we living in a house. And what happens when we see the farmers? It's some white folk cutting the grass, and some white people, some old white people working on the corn.
Turned.
Me and Corey be I'm sitting in there bucky naked.
I sit on the porch,
staring outside like, damn, this is nice. I'm just chilling in here, and we watching the stalks get higher and higher.
Yeah, knee high by the 4th of July. That's some corn knowledge. You didn't know that.
Knee high. It ain't even the 4th of July.
It's not. But what's some shit you're working on?
So I have been becoming a little bit of an audio engineer. So
example.
Because I just did not like this.
Quit messing with your hand.
I got like a little pimple on the side. I want to pop it. I just like, I really am into audio. Like
and video.
I like learning more and more about the audio. Yeah, because it's like I've been doing video for years now, and I always would just ignore the audio part. Like, I would get a good mic, but when it came to like the actual like, let's get into the science of audio, I would be like, that's for someone else. And then I realized, like, I can wait for somebody else forever. I can just
like
do it
I
myself.
did to make this podcast.
Yeah, but you're not going to be the one who's the engineer and the one that has to edit it at the end of this.
Big facts. Because I don't like that.
Yeah, you don't like it. You don't like it, but it's like a lot of people don't like the technical
it's
shit.
It's tedious. I don't like any of that. I don't want to sit and listen back to the same thing over and over. I don't watch the same thing over and over.
You want to know why I do it?
Because you're genius.
No, it's because I'm terrible at doing these things. And when I'm in the editing room and I watch myself back, I am thankful that no one has the power to make me look as terrible as I give them opportunity to.
That's fair. Is there anything else you're working on?
Well, I mean, we're working on not having everything we do be business.
Yeah, we're working on intentionality with each other as like a relationship rather than just a working business partnership. And it's hard. It's hard. It's like everything always comes back to the work that we're doing, because separately we're doing our own creative endeavors, but also together we're doing like several creative endeavors. And so it can feel like there's never like a pause for just like living, because our life is our work and our work is our life. So it's really difficult. But I think that this podcast is like part of that intentionality, because I feel like we get to just kind of bring things that we talk about throughout life into a more like condensed format.
We've been needing the podcast because, first off, like, this shit gonna blow up.
Are you speaking that into existence?
It's episode 1, but like, we stay out here hustling. We some dirty ass hustlers is what we is.
I don't really claim that narrative.
Some strangy, disgusting looking.
I don't agree.
I
with
used
that.
to not wash behind my ears. I was just out there hustling.
You used to not have a skincare routine. But you're welcome, world.
Yeah, I only got that because I was like, there came a point where I was like, I'm just disgusting.
You were never disgusting.
Pretty gross.
You needed some work.
I needed a lot of work. I look younger now because I do work.
I'm proud of you.
Just looking at photos of myself from like 5 years ago. I looked like a 36-year-old disgusting human.
Proud of you.
Someone might fuck around and think I'm 25.
I mean, your beard is not a 25-year-old's beard, but
It really ain't. You remember that guy in the gas station I told you about?
Oh.
No,
yeah.
the other one.
Oh, the other one, yes.
This guy walks up to me and he's like, "Hey, I like your beard." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then he goes, "How long did it take you to grow that?" And I was like, 2 years. And he goes, 2 years. He said 2 years. He's talking to himself
about
me, and laughing at me. And he is wearing like white painter's clothes, like he's doing house paint, and it's brown paint all over him.
Yeah, it looked like dirt.
It looked dirt, and he is just laughing at my ass. And then when we got in the gas, like when we got back in the car to pull out, he pulls in front of the car, waves at us, laughing like we know him. And then he goes and gets in the right lane and then cuts everybody out off going left, just giggling. And I was just horrified. I was like, this is who I would be.
I said that to you.
This
is a glimpse at your future if you don't change your ways.
I got so many people that I've seen like that. And like, there was a guy who was in and out of homelessness, and he was a black artist, and he'd come around my shop and he'd always talk to me. And I was like, this is me in a parallel society, a
parallel society,
a parallel universe.
But that goes back to why ownership is important.
Yeah, I mean, I was really sad to see what happened to that black artist. It was like
Leroy.
Yeah, Leroy. Like he had a notebook. He was in his 70s, and he constantly drew. And no art gallery wanted him. And he was like, I draw charcoal portraits, and I've been doing it since I was a kid, growing up in Gary. And like, he got Social Security, but like, he liked drinking beers. And he would spend all of his money on beer, and like, he died because he didn't eat. Like, he spent all of his money on beers one time, and he thought he'd get some jobs to work, and he literally starved to death. Like, I didn't even know this was happening to him. And it's like, no one can tell me that, like, that's the cool way to go. Like, wanting a beer, you can't even have a beer, and now you're just hungry.
Yeah.
And you're an old black man. Like, people do not like giving us shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't do that.
That's why you, like, and me as well, like, why we're always in pursuit of what we can do better or what we should do next when it comes to our art and creativity. And it's like, I think it comes from like even when I think about, you know, everything you've told me about him and that story, like, I don't take that story and think like fear-based thinking. I think like, oh, like, we should honor the fact that we get these moments to have ownership, to have independence, because our reality could so easily be different. And I think like you do get these glimpses of people that whole like parallel like universe thing where you see them and you're like, whoa, if I were to make certain decisions, like, that could be me. And I think those are supposed to be lessons. Like, they're not supposed to be this like this judgment or this pity or anything like that. Like, no, you're supposed to take that like you did and see it for what it is, and then know, okay, then I have to make these choices for myself in my life with my art in order to have a more prosperous future.
We're going to talk about that subject for a long time.
That'll be another episode.
A long time.
Last, but certainly not least, is the shit that we like.
Yeah, because when we were talking about our format, we were like, we were going to start with the shit we like.
Yeah.
And end with the shit we don't like.
But somewhere along the way, I think it was like in high school or college, somebody told me that, like, if you're giving somebody constructive criticism, or if you're just like letting someone know what you think, it's better to start with the negative, or start with the like what somebody should work on, and then end with like what they're doing well, because it leaves it on a high note. So we're gonna leave this on a high note.
Yeah, we had to leave it on a high note, and everybody got something negative to say.
Yeah,
people don't like listening to overly positive people.
So there's something that Sydney says. It's that not negative. It's like there's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, we gotta grow.
We're gonna try to not use the negative speech.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah,
So that's
get that-
where
get
that
that
was
growth.
out the gate first and foremost. Now we're just gonna talk about what we do like.
Because I got things that I like myself.
Do you want to go first? You want me to go
I
first?
want you to go first.
Right now, I love ube. If you don't know what ube is, it is in the root vegetable family, kind of like sweet potato, but it's purple. It's not far from the color of Taryn's shirt, and I'm really, really into it right now. There's Bad Oven Peanut makes some ube cookies, ube panda sauce.
What is ube for those that don't know?
I literally just explained it. I said it's a root vegetable, sweet potato family.
It's going to make sense when I say what I like, why I said that.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh, so Peanut from Bad Oven got me really hooked on it with their delicious treats and pastries. Then I found this place that serves ube lattes. And then I just got us some ube cheesecake ice cream that has become the household favorite from 12 Paws. They're local.
That has been nice.
It's so delicious. And I've learned that like I do love the taste of it, but I also love the color. I love like it gives me my like childhood wonder. Like I really do think that it helps me heal my inner child to eat my favorite color. Like that just brings me a lot of joy. And it tastes delicious. It's like perfect little treat, perfect color. It makes me feel royal. It is the color of royalty. So these days, I really, really like and love ube. That's UBE for those that don't know.
I do like me some ube.
You do. You really like that ice cream. I don't think you thought you'd like it, but it is so good. It's so good.
So I was like,
I'm going to eat some when we get home.
I was like, it's not sweet, so what's it going to taste like?
Yeah, it's like, that's what I like about it though, because I'm not huge on like the sweets. Like, I don't have a big sweet tooth. I'm like a person that can take like one bite of something and be good. So ube is like really a treat for me because I can eat more of it than just one bite.
That's true. You do love you some ube.
But I just love purple.
You do love you some purple.
Yeah.
That's why I wore this shirt today.
Oh, thank you.
Ube look like my shirt.
It does.
Well,
what do you like?
been liking doing some walk-ins and smoking this smoke while I do that. I like to expand my brain. If they go walking for miles on end.
You really have been walking miles. Like what? You've been going like 4 miles with Prince.
Yeah.
Taking a luxury dog on walks.
We go like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We went for a walk on Duke's campus because I've never been there. And I did not feel like I fit in. But since we had our fancy dog, it was like rich academics were just like, oh my God, can I pet your dog?
He is pretty cute. He's real sweet.
Cute. And he's just like, when he's tired, he just licks your hand a couple times. And I was like, look, I'm tired.
Yeah.
But the reefers, I feel like it just like slows my brain down, lets me enjoy some things, and going for a little walk. I've been listening to an album on the walk. I say when you yawn, it's contagious.
I know I caught your yawn.
You caught it in your lips. Some people keep a proverb on their tongue. We keep a yawn in our mouth. But
that should be the title of this episode.
We are not titling.
Why?
Maybe we will.
That was a good one.
What was it?
There's some people we keep a yawn in our mouth. You said some people keep a proverb on their lips. Is that what you said?
Proverb on their tongue.
A proverb on their tongue, but we keep a yawn in our mouths. That's one of those things that's like, it's a Southern saying that doesn't actually exist, but it sounds good.
I mean, it's true.
That was kind of poetic.
A yawn on our mouth. On our what?
Yeah, a yawn in our mouths. A yawn on our mouths. Something like that.
All right, well, I guess that's gonna be the title.
Working title.
But yeah, it was just like, it's nice to just walk, because I feel like it gets my brain thinking, because I have a lot. Sorry, crazy. I was
You gotta stop.
comment if you yawning. Comment. 3 listeners. First off, the early listeners, y'all the OGs. Let me give praise to the new people. Okay, let me get a segment for y'all.
Shout out.
Gunshots. Dot 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 dot. All them other people, they don't believe in
I would
us.
have done like.
All them people, they don't believe in us. They didn't get to this far. They didn't get an hour in. They tuned in and they tuned out. But you didn't. You said
You made it.
You said I want to hear these niggas think.
You are a real one.
You was the realist. You was the one that saw me at graduation and said, "I believe in you, youngster." You the one at the barber shop who said, "You looking good today."
I'm just gonna say I'm proud of you for sticking it out.
You was the one who said, "I'm getting far with these episodes with them." You was the one that told me that I could fly.
Ooh, I almost started singing a song that we
didn't,
don't
though.
sing
You
anymore.
You the real one. We do this, but you the only one that we care about. We don't even care about none of them other people. You the one that saw the secret bonus content an hour in. You the reason we gonna post weekly. You the reason we finna blow up.
The reason is you.
We finna have our
Hooba
faces
stank.
on things 'cause of you. We finna uplift a whole bunch of people 'cause of you. My mama ain't even gonna listen this far.
I don't know. I bet Paula will.
My mom don't know how to operate and find things.
She follows your Instagram.
She is on Instagram, but she know how to click a profile. That's about it.
Well, if she made it this far, joke's on you.
Shout out list. If you wasn't the first listener, if you listen, give us your handle, and next episode we gonna shout you out at the top.
That's a good idea.
Let me
if
write
you made
that
it this
down.
far, if
Let
you
me
made
write
it
that.
to this far, comment your handle and you'll be on the shout out list. Earlier we were shouting out places in Indiana just as a joke together. But we'll shout out real humans.
We gonna do it at the top because y'all the realest ones. Y'all so real. We gonna shout you out. Tell us what you do, and we gonna tell people what you do.
Yeah,
Cause you the real one.
a real shout out.
You the truth.
Okay. Now what?
So let's look at everything.
That's a wrap, I think.
We talked about.
We made it to the end. Although we have come to the end of the show,
Still I can't
let
go.
go. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Corey or KP, whichever suits you best.
Come back next week and do this.
Yeah, and you're Taryn.
We gotta be committed to sticking through with or without an audience.
I'm committed. Are you committed?
I'm committed. We gotta do it on sick days. Bless up. We gotta do
Might
it
do
on
it
tired
from the
days.
crib if we're
You
tired.
just unhook that microphone and lay in bed, and I'll put a GoPro on the ceiling.
That might happen one day.
Dog will be in the lap.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We're from Indiana,
We're from Indiana.
currently in Hillsborough, North Carolina.
I'm on Instagram at I'm from Indiana.
And I'm on Instagram at Hoosier Queen KP.
Mm-hmm. Stay tuned for everything we about to do. All the ways we blow up.
See ya. Catch you later.
Mm-hmm. Because you got to catch us early. Because when you catch us early, we remember you.
But no matter when you're joining, welcome.
Yep. Welcome. And
peace and hair grease.
Blessings to those that love us and give us good energy. And
this sounds like a black people goodbye. Like, you know, you take forever to just like get out the door. It's like, see ya.
I can't
later.
Wait until
yeah, it's been great. You've been, see you later. I'll call you. I won't really call you. Yep. Okay. Yep. You know that's how that go.
All right, goodbye, everybody.